Welcome back for another helping of oysters, clams, and kapkun presented by Bolin Media. I am Resort Manager Ross Bolin here with Concierge Extraordinaire Barrett Dudley to recap and discuss Episode 4 of the White Lotus Season 3. How we doing, Barrett?
Oh, man. You know, Concierge Barrett, he would never send you to a dead pool with just a bunch of old-timers hanging around, you know, listening
Flabby
to...
arms.
Listening to some Boca Vista... what's the genre I'm looking for? The Buena Vista Social Club? Yeah. No, that's not where I'm sending you. I'm sending you to the hot spot right away.
Yeah.
You know?
You wouldn't have made that mistake.
I wouldn't have made that mistake. No siree. So that's why I'm good at what I do, you know.
Hey, for those who don't know you,
yeah.
It's not even a joke.
No, it's really not. It's really not. I mean, now I'm not as in touch as I once was, but
yeah, but still.
Try to keep my pulse. I try to keep my finger on the pulse.
By far, my most in touch friend when it comes to hot spots, good restaurants, nightlife,
yeah,
etc.
Yeah.
So, bad looks there.
Yeah, what was
Valentine?
that? He basically called him old.
I really don't know what that was about. We'll get to that because I want to discuss. That was strange. If you're enjoying our coverage of the White Lotus on YouTube, we ask that you subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and leave a comment, please and thank you. Trying to work our way to 10,000 subscribers. Right now, I think we're a little over 8,500. Likewise, if you are listening on Apple Podcasts, hit us with a 5-star rating and write a review really quick. Helps us out a lot. And if you're on Spotify, hit us with 5 stars as well. Muchos gracias. Remember, we are also covering Season 2 of Severance right now, exclusively on patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles. A very divisive most recent episode.
Yes, quite divisive.
The Clam Fam and the internet on the whole is torn. Barrett and I in different camps. We won't tell you which camps we're in. You'll have to go to patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles. Go enjoy a 7-day free trial on our Patreon page. Catch up on all our Severance coverage. Enjoy our White Lotus hotline call episodes as well. We got a new White Lotus hotline call episode dropping later this week, by the way, to further discuss the episode we are about to dive into. And then on Friday, we are dropping our companion podcast for Severance Season 2, Episode 9, the penultimate episode of Severance Season 2, before I bounce out of the country myself for a little bit. Patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles. Ready to talk Episode 4 here.
Oh, yeah.
Titled Hide or Seek, excuse me. It's a variation on the classic childhood game.
Yeah.
Directed by Mike White, written by Mike White. Episode 4 kicks off with Jacqueline trying to get a hold of her husband, but he doesn't pick up, so she leaves him a voicemail. We'll start with our trio of girls here. Remember, this dude is 10 years younger than her.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get a feel for, is he an actor or like a director? Have they said?
He creeping.
Seems like it.
I think he's an actor.
Right?
Yeah.
But they don't specify, if I'm not mistaken. She just says she thinks he's on set.
I don't think they specify, but I believe that he's an actor.
He's in the biz.
Yeah.
One way or the other. Not responding to texts either. He's completely checked out. His wife left the country on vacation. God knows what he's getting into. But the point is, just from this opening scene, I was like, oh shit. And I'm coupling this with the like previously on the White Lotus scenes that they gave us.
Right.
I was like, oh, 100% Jacqueline is going to hook up with Valentin, as she calls him, or one of these other two Russians.
Yeah,
like,
she calls
no
him
doubt.
Valentin, but then goes back to Valentine.
I think
later.
it was just one disrespectful name pronunciation.
Okay, you think that was purposeful? Okay.
In response to the shit recommendation he gave them. Yeah. At breakfast, Jacqueline has her phone out, still trying to get a hold of hubby.
This was also just like, you know, right? Like Kate and
Lori.
I'm gonna get it. Kate and Lori had already talked about like, oh, she's so full of it with all that. They can't keep their hands off of each other. They're just so addicted to each other.
Seemed like she was overcompensating.
She was overcompensating a little bit, and this just felt like proof that like it's not as rosy as she made it out to be.
Yeah, when she says
confirmation,
basically, I can't get a hold of whatever his name is.
Harrison.
They both shoot each other a look.
Yes.
Like, huh?
Yeah.
Things are shitty because they keep all gossiping behind each other's backs. Rather than do yoga, and seemingly in response to the fact that she can't get a hold of Harrison, Jacqueline's like, let's do something fun today.
Yeah.
Like you can start to see the crazy in her eyes lighting up a little bit. I thought she did a really good job with this, Michelle Monaghan. I was like, oh, there it is. There's the crazy. So when Valentin comes up, they ask him if there's some place nearby with a little bit more of a vibe, some music, some energy,
Some drinks.
less wellness, more vibes.
Right.
That's what they're looking for here. Jacqueline continues forcing Valentine and Lori into like a fling. Lori continues resisting. And Valentine lets them know there's a place nearby that he thinks they'll like. So they head over to this other hotel and they lay out by the pool. And it takes all of 5 seconds for Jacqueline to be accosted by a couple of elderly widowers. They both recently lost their husbands.
A couple of Australian birds, if I'm not mistaken.
A lot
right?
of Aussies in this
Yeah.
episode, I
Well,
think,
it's
on
pretty,
the whole.
It's if my geography is not mistaken here, I think it's relatively easy for the Aussies to get to Thailand. Much quicker flight than it is for us.
How long is the flight for us? Do you know?
12, 14 hours, something like that. It's a long way away.
One of the long ones.
Yeah. I don't think it's like a 2-hour flight from Australia, but I think it's way shorter than 12 hours.
More palatable
Yeah.
than from the States
Yeah.
over here. Hilarious scene here, though, at this pool as Jacqueline starts looking around. The other two girls are seemingly unfazed.
Yeah, no,
Like,
they're
Kate and Laurie are good, having a conversation,
comfortable.
getting
Yeah.
their drinks going, but Jacqueline is just... She can't handle the normies,
no,
dude. She can't handle it. She realizes this resort is like for old people and poors. And she's just like, she whispers like, something is off.
Yeah.
She looks over and there's a guy ripping a cigarette. And then she sees another guy ripping a cigarette and she can't fucking handle it.
Well, and everybody is old.
Yeah. A lot of, they're
They're 60 plus.
Yes.
A lot of septuagenarians.
No youth.
No youth. Yeah.
No youthful energy here. She says, what the actual fuck is this place? Is this like a bargain hotel for retirees? Why would he send us here? So she forces the trio to bail. Of note, when they bail, we get a shot of that same monkey in that tree again, still plotting,
Still waiting to get his hands on that gun.
biding his time. That's what that monkey is doing, Barrett. So back at the White Lotus, Jacqueline asks Valentin why he sent them to that hellhole. She calls him their butler and then basically kidnaps him. He's like, I don't think I can, I'm on the job. And they're like, get in the fucking party cab. We're leaving.
Yes, allow me to speak from a recent experience here that I was lucky enough to have. At a luxury hotel, you might be assigned somebody that is called a butler, and it is kind of like they're not like
It's your personal helper.
Yes. So it's not like a hey Jeeves, bring the car around.
Right.
That is like a term that I experienced that on my baby moon for the first time ever at a resort, where it's like, and we were not in a high enough class of room to like have our very own personal butler the way
Right.
that these folks do. But I did the Leonardo DiCaprio, whistling at the camera gif, because I was like, oh yeah, that's just they do that. They call them that sometimes, like,
and I have no doubt that they do. But in this case,
But
in
you
this
thought it
hotel,
had a little
it had some stank on it.
stank on it. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that's like her personal wellness guru.
Right.
Or
Right.
coordinator.
Yeah.
But she just straight up calls him a butler. You're our butler. You're coming with us. So they get into town, and Valentine tells them, like, there's a very fun club on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
It opens in an hour. He's going to go call his friends to meet them and change into some, street threads.
Right.
And he tells the girls to go shopping and that he'll come find them. So the girls go walking.
He's got to dial up Vlad.
Yeah.
You gotta go get Vlad.
Vlad and his other boy
involved.
with the most stereotypical Russian name of all time. They start walking, immediately get attacked by kids with water guns. Another very funny scene here. They end up having to run as seemingly the entire town sprays them down with super soakers. They seek shelter in a convenience store. The children wait with their weapons at the door. There's no back exit. They have to go face the music again.
I think this was my favorite scene of the episode.
It was great.
Is them, getting blasted with the super soakers, and just like they could not be less excited about it.
Jacqueline tries to be polite, like does her best to try to put on a polite tone and say like, we're about to go out all night. Like we don't want to be sprayed. Thank you. And they're just starting with the legs initially. They're just popping them in the legs over and over.
Yeah.
But then as they resist,
Oh yeah,
and pick up the speed, then they start getting hit everywhere, and then everybody jumps in on this. The whole fucking town, man. They're just going at
you got to
these
play
women.
it cool. Like you don't care. Just keep walking. Just, slowly.
Hit them with like a ha-ha.
No sudden moves. If you start showing that it's affecting you,
Oh,
they're gonna be all over you.
you're just inviting more squirting.
That's right.
Yeah. So eventually the girls get to a bar where they're having drinks, and Jacqueline assures the group they're going to turn things around. Like, today's been a bust, but we can do this. She says what happens in Thailand stays in Thailand, which is just a direct theft of Vegas's
Well, that
slogan.
she wants to maybe have an experience
yeah.
that she doesn't want to get back home.
She says we're not dead yet, all right? We can still be young and hot and fun. And this is certainly a thing that people middle-aged, our age, and, between our age and I'd say 50.
Right.
I mean, it's a thought that occurs to us.
Sure.
Yeah. We've still got it. We can still get out there.
Yeah, and
We can still party.
And when you approach the concierge or anybody that's going to direct you to some nightlife, some dinners, some clubs, whatever, you hit a fork in the road. You're going to get categorized in one direction or another. Somebody's going to look at you and they're going to say, "Aha, a young hot club is just the thing," or they're going to say, "This person's old."
They don't rage.
Yes, and that's the big thing here is they got categorized by Valentine. He put them in the old box.
Old, chill ladies.
Yeah, and that's tough. That's tough for these ladies.
It is, man. It's tough to process that.
Yeah.
Even as somebody who doesn't party anymore, I would still be offended.
Right.
Like, come on, you didn't think I could hang? Because that is the opposite of the vibe they were looking for, the first hotel they end up at, right? So Valentine rolls up with his two friends, Alexei and Vlad, and they're just like, it's just like the Russian mob. This is just Russian mobsters. Alexei has a snake tattoo on his arm that goes all the way down, which I was like, how is it, like, tat design-wise? Like, so this snake just goes down his entire fucking body all the way to his Russian dong?
Probably goes all the way down like his
side and stuff too?
onto his leg, I would imagine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I was picturing the snake ending up at his penis and the penis
No,
being
I think that
part
would
of
be
the
a little
snake.
bit too
On the nose.
on the nose or on the penis rather.
But down into his pants.
Yeah,
like on the side.
I think
probably.
to show the whole thing, he would have to drop trowel.
So that, okay.
Yeah.
The sexy snake tat
Yeah.
slithering down his body. I'm
a sexy snake. What's that? Remember that?
oh my God, what is that from?
I'm
I'm
a sexy little snake.
It's a YouTube video,
it's a
I think.
YouTube
Famous
video,
YouTube video. The Russians know how to make fun, so this is where we leave the girls. With these, it's a trio of Russians and a trio of our American tourist ladies. How do we feel about Jacqueline, Kate, and Lori's story in this episode, Barrett?
I gotta say it was probably I thought it was the most compelling and most interesting of our storylines in this episode. And yet it is still very representative of how I felt about this episode as a whole, which was I don't know why we are playing this so slow. Like, very clearly in the next episode, we are going to get them partying at the club. We are going to get the boat at the Full Moon Festival.
Right.
And so it was just weird to spend a whole,
It was all set up.
all set up. And once again, it felt like nothing really happened in this storyline and in the rest that we're going to talk about. Like, I don't feel any, the story, the kind of like natural arc for these people, like what you've told us about them, is like no further along, really. This was the only one that I felt did a little something, because it gave us this little added wrinkle now that the girls have essentially been called old, and now they're going to be even more on tilt, like proving that they can hang in the next episode. So I thought that was fun. I liked the water gun scene. I liked them being out of their comfort zone and kind of into the city a little bit more. And they feel like they're like almost like on the precipice of something dangerous or wild or scandalous happening with the Russian mob, as you said.
Yeah.
But I did think overall it was weird that the actual party didn't happen in this episode for all of these storylines.
Big tease, man. The episode on the whole was a pretty big tease. This, I think, if I'm picking from the two, what I'll call main storylines, the trio of women versus the Ratliffs, I think I liked the Ratliffs more.
Okay. Well, let's jump to that.
Because really all we had here was we find out that, yes, Jacqueline's home life situation with her husband Harrison,
not as perfect as we thought,
as she has portrayed.
She is portrayed.
If they were so obsessed with each other and like couldn't keep their hands off each other and all the things that she was kind of throwing out there, like he would answer the phone or at least respond to a text message. And it seems like she's not able to get a hold of him for hours, right? So that was one thing. Jacqueline gets pushed towards crazy a little more. And then, the water gun scenes were fun. And I thought the scene at the hotel that they see as beneath them for all the olds was also a good laugh.
Yeah.
But on the whole, all set up.
Yeah.
And when they leave us with the, them and the three Russians, I was like, oh, damn it. Because I want to see the full derailment, which I believe will occur next week.
Okay.
Because we have gotten a little strung out here. But through the first three episodes. A little strung out. Slow paced. Four episodes. Excuse me. You're correct. Yeah.
We're halfway through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because how many episodes in the season?
8.
I keep forgetting because we're covering 2 shows right now. 8 total?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So this was the halfway point.
Uh-huh.
You have to think and imagine that things are going to derail pretty hard. Or you hope.
I hope.
I think we all hope
that
things will derail pretty hard in the back half of the season for all these folks. Before we jump to the Ratliffs, as much fun as it is to be on vacation at a luxurious resort with wonderful meals and expensive restaurants every night, most of us can't afford to live that way very often, if at all. We do have to eat, though, and preferably we'd like to eat well. That's where today's sponsor, Factor Meals, comes in. Ready to optimize your nutrition this year? Factor has chef-made gourmet meals that make eating well easy. They're dietitian approved and ready to heat and eat in 2 minutes so you can fuel right and feel great no matter what life throws at you. If you're like me, there are some days you get home from work or school or whatever, and you just need to be able to plop down on the couch and enjoy the next episode of your favorite TV show without worrying about what's for dinner. Factor takes this dream and makes it possible with the best meals delivered straight to your door. Got my latest box of Factor over the weekend. Actually had a Factor meal for lunch on Saturday and dinner on Sunday. Delicious, fast, convenient, incredible food. Yummy, yummy in my tummy. Bear it. Factor arrives fresh and fully prepared, perfect for any active, busy lifestyle with 40 options across 8 dietary preferences on the menu each week. It's easy to pick meals tailored to your goals. You can choose from preferences like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or Keto. Reach your goals this year with ingredients you can trust and convenience that can't be beat. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/factorpodcast and use code factorpodcast to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code factorpodcast at factormeals.com/factorpodcast to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. So, Timmy Ratliff starts his day with an outdoor shower, then downs 2 of his wife's lorazepam. This man is now truly derailing. Of note, Jason Isaacs is a recovering alcoholic and addict.
Wow.
Which, frankly, would help you play someone drowning out their pain and anxiety with drugs and alcohol. Okay. So this is something he's been open about. He's talked about a lot in interviews and such. So just something to take note of. Because I thought he did a fantastic job in this episode, like showing the down slope.
Yeah. Are you attributing the sudden and frequent lorazepam ingestion as a nod to how addicting this drug is, or how desperately he is trying to drown out the ills that are coming for him?
It's a little bit of a combination of both. Like if you're super stressed out, and or really anxious, those are pretty similar feelings. Drugs like lorazepam or Xanax, they take the edge off. You just feel it like melt away. So I think this is a guy who couldn't be more stressed than he is. His whole life is about to crumble, and he knows it. He's in deep, deep shit, which gets deeper this episode. And his wife gives him one of those pills so he can see what it's like, and it works really, really well.
Yeah.
And now he's running.
I just kind of wondered if it was. I think that's right. I think he's just that he needs that edge taken off more and more and more and more. So he turns to the pills more and more and more and more.
Yeah, it's escapism too.
But there's that, she almost has that or she says in a what I think we're meant to read in a tongue-in-cheek way an episode ago when she's like, they're not addictive, but aren't they kind of addictive?
Oh, they're definitely addictive.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. She just doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about. But it's less that like, it's not like he like, when they talk about drugs, they're like, oh, you can smoke crack once and be addicted.
Right,
like, I don't think lorazepam necessarily, it doesn't like fit into that category of addictiveness.
That's kind of my question. Yeah. Okay.
But if you were in a situation like Tim is, where you can't stop feeling stressed and anxious about like what's coming for you, the inevitable tsunami of consequence.
Right.
Yeah, this would be a slippery slope. So Saxon makes a protein shake with his very loud blender that Pam brought, which deeply upsets his hungover father who blames jet lag. The tug-of-war between Saxon and Piper for Lachlan's soul kind of continues throughout the course of this episode. Saxon forces Lachlan to drink a protein shake for the high T and BDE.
Yeah, that's
as he put it.
That's the big dick energy.
It
right?
is.
Yeah.
It is.
Okay.
He made a BDE reference in this episode, which I couldn't believe. Right before we get some BDE, and mocks Lachlan for reading a book. We've got Saxon just blatantly being like, "Why read?" It's like, God, come on. Piper says girls aren't into super jacked guys, which I thought was a really funny sort of like look into the way culturally things have sort of shifted between like, if you look back at like the 90s, it was like jacked jocks.
Yeah.
Like those are the dudes that chicks are after.
Right.
And in like 2020s, like for what is it, Gen Alpha and Gen Z?
Yeah.
There's been a shift.
Right.
Away from like overtly masculine, ripped, huge, terrifying dudes.
Yeah.
To like the Timothée Chalamets of the world.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, you got your noodle boys, a la Timothy Chalamet. You've got your rodent men, like Jeremy Allen White. And you've got your baby girls, like Jacob Elordi. Yeah. So they're,
rodent men. Yeah. But it's been a clear shift here culturally, at least in the United States, where it's something interesting that I thought they tapped into here.
Honestly, I think the U.S. was probably at the forefront of like the beefcake jacked hunks.
And now we've gone back
like
to
more
European.
Of like more of a return to like the slightly more louche and suave and less focused on the form and the giant physical muscles that maybe feels a little more European.
Definitely. Saxon asks if girls are into gender goblins who tuck their dick in between their legs. And then Saxon steals Piper's book and bops her on the head with it. Says he'll give it back if she promises to keep her phobias to herself and not turn their little brother into an agender asexual like her. He just fucking can't stop with upping the toxic masculinity to like new levels every episode, dude. It's a great character though. I think he's doing a really good job with it.
Yeah.
And that's without caring if it's like because he's a douchebag in real life or just his Nepo baby. Arnold Schwarzenegger is inarguably douchey. Like, he just is. He's just one of those dudes, man. Like, if you go back and watch old school Arnold quotes from like, what is that?
Sure.
From Pumping Iron?
Yeah, but that was like, I mean, he was like 24 smoking doobies and
yeah, but didn't he like
all whacked up on steroids?
He got caught like, I think he got a divorce because he cheated with the maid.
He cheated with the nanny. Yeah.
Which is classic douche.
Stuff, that's all fair. I actually, random aside, one night this weekend.
You watched Pumping Iron?
I was up late. No, but I was like, it rolled around to like 10:30, 10:45, and I was looking for something to just like throw on YouTube TV while I wound down and got ready for bed. And there wasn't much on, but what I did find was 1987's The Running Man.
Okay,
which I'd never seen before. And I watched about the first 25 minutes of it, whereupon I said, this must have been early 80s because, my God, this looks so bad.
1987.
But it was late 80s. And yeah, that was my takeaway is, man, they did not, we take for granted what they can do and what they spend on money these days.
On movies?
Yes, because there's like an opening helicopter scene in this 1987 blockbuster action film starring Arnold Schwarzenegger at close to his prime, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was his prime.
When was Terminator? That before that, I think Terminator was 1986,
84.
Yeah,
3 years
this
before.
is post Terminator, and like this, you can just tell that the helicopter is just sitting on the ground, like on a bad set. There is no, you do not get the feeling that this helicopter is in the air. There is no movement. There is no, like, it's just very flat. There's no wide shot. It's
And this was a Stephen King book that got adapted into an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. So this was like the biggest budget they had in '87. You know what I mean? Like this should have been better than that.
It should have been better. It should have been better. But
we have come a long way in 30 years.
Yeah,
man.
we really have. We really have.
Hollywood has come like crazy far in technology.
Yeah, they don't make them like that anymore. You can't just toss to our previous conversation. You can't just get a beefcake hunk all jacked up, throw him on the screen, do an action,
and everybody turns out for it. Yeah,
right. No, they're like The Rock's last 8 attempts at that were all gigantic flops. So.
Yeah. I heard Red One was great though. So Victoria busts in and asks if anyone has taken her lorazepam.
You called it. You
I
said
did call it.
The pill heads, they count. They know. Did you say it on Patreon? Did you say it on Patreon this week?
It may have been on Patreon. I can't recall. But
if it was, you were like, you said people that take pills like this, they count their stash. They know how many are in there.
Yeah, and
they know when they fill those prescriptions. Like it is like
with scripts
they're
like
strict
that
about it, and you knew that this was going to happen.
With lorazepam, with Xanax, with any of the opioids now, as a result of the massive crisis of drug addiction that has spread across our entire country over the past 30 years related to prescription drugs, they now have it set up to where I'm not sure if there's a limit a doctor can prescribe you, but good doctors who are well-intentioned, will not give you a prescription for like 100 pills anymore.
Yeah, right.
Like just to throw a random example out there, the first time I went to a psychiatrist back in like 2010, this guy was like, "Oh yeah, anxiety, huh? Here's 100 Xanax," and I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Just take this 100 Xanax." And this was I lived in Austin and I was at a doctor in Houston. He was like, "Go back to another city where I cannot check on you and enjoy your 100 Xanax." And I was like, "Jesus, all right, I will." Which was a terrible fucking idea because I definitely abused them.
Yeah.
But nowadays, if you get a script, they will give you minimal amounts to be able to keep track of if you are abusing them or not. So like they'll give you 10 at a time or 20 at a time so that they know if in 3 days you're calling being like, "Oh, I need a refill," they're like, "Hey, you're abusing the drug."
That seems smart on their part.
Right? Yeah. It's just a little safety precaution there. So yeah, she catches someone immediately. She doesn't know who's doing this, but she knows someone's up in her pills. Piper asks, "You don't have enough lorazepam to get through 1 week at a wellness spa?" Which was a fucking great line. Saxon asks his mom why she needs the pills anyway. She basically says, certain social situations make her anxious. And Saxon's like, "Well, back home, you go to the club," their country club is what he's referring to, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's when Tim realizes, because he's in the room just sort of listening to all of this passively, and you see his face go like, "Oh, God," because he realizes everyone at the country club, everyone in his social circle, that he cares about their opinions. It's like a huge part of his identity. Mm-hmm. They're all going to find out he's a white-collar criminal and a crook, and he's going to be ruined. And he'll be ruined at the club, and the club will be gone. So, then he just hangs dad dong on his entire family right here real quick.
Yeah,
the White Lotus... It always gets some dick in.
They're like, yeah.
They always hang a little bit of dong, So
yes.
Tim drops some dad dick here, and Saxon's response to that.
Funny scene.
Very funny scene, and it got even funnier for me when like you get each person's reaction. Like Lachlan's kind of like, "Ah," and Piper's like, "Oh, disgusting," and the mom sort of giggles, but Saxon does the full-blown evil laugh in response to this. So then the Ratliffs head off to Gary/Greg's boat. I'm just going to call him Greg because his name is Greg.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay, it's Greg.
He's been telling people his name's Gary, right?
Yes.
But he is Greg. And apparently you can just look this dude up on the internet.
And his name shows up right there, Greg Hunt. Yeah. So, you can look up, if you Google Tanya McCoy on the internet, that's when he pops up right later in the episode. We'll get to that. Slow motion walk up the dock to the boat was like classic White Lotus vibes.
Yep.
Loved this. Saxon gives Chloe a hug upon entry. Then Chloe introduces Greg to the Ratliffs, and Victoria immediately starts questioning Greg about his line of work. "Timothy's in finance. Maybe you know some of the same people." And is this the same boat from season 2? This is a big question for me. And it was, I'll say this. This boat seemed to have a pool.
It did.
A small pool on the lowest deck.
It did.
Which I don't remember the boat last season having a pool.
Yeah, and I don't think it's the same boat.
Because how would that even make sense? How would he have gotten that boat?
Right.
Where that crime occurred?
Yeah, he wouldn't have.
Right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
this is
And
this,
that boat was one of the guys. That was one of the gay guys.
that was his boy. Yeah.
Yeah. The main one.
Right.
Yeah.
Allegedly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The dude who played Bilbo Baggins? No. Different guy. Why am I mixing Bilbo Baggins into this? Anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is, there's no way
you thinking of Martin Freeman? Is that Bilbo?
Yes.
Okay.
I think. Well, now I have to look. But there's no way he could have gotten that boat.
It was not him. It was not Martin Freeman who played that guy.
Ian Holm is the dude I'm thinking of. You're thinking of Bilbo Baggins in the Hobbit trilogy. That's Martin Freeman.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But neither of them
Look at me go.
is the character I'm talking. You're so Lord of the Rings, dude. Such an LOTR head. But the point being, do we think Greg purchased a yacht? Like, is this his yacht?
Okay.
Because there's a difference here.
We do need a pause. We need a moment for the yacht because this is like a $250 million boat or something insane.
Really?
Yeah, 100?
I don't know, man.
This is a huge yacht. This is it has a pool on it, Ross.
They do refer to it as a super
it's
yacht.
a super yacht. Yes, it's huge.
Yeah.
It's okay. It minimum tens of millions for this.
Tens
boat.
of millions. That's where I'll go with. Yeah.
And I want to fast forward really quickly to the scene where Belinda is like looking this all up. I had a slight issue with the way that the headlines were written. Like millionaire dies in the. Nobody's a millionaire anymore. Everybody's a millionaire.
I actually flagged this exact same thing.
Nobody wealthy is described as a millionaire anymore because, look at the median price of homes in the country. Like, if you own a home, you're close to a millionaire at this point.
You could be a millionaire and live on either coast and not be anywhere close to considered, even remotely wealthy.
Correct. Right. So I thought that was
a strange adjective to throw in there for sure.
Yes. So if she was some tycoon, heiress, whatever, whose money bought this insane super yacht in Thailand, I think she would have been referred to as such. Even if she's not a billionaire, it would have been like heiress or tycoon.
They definitely do put heiress in multiple headlines, but that one headline that starts with millionaire,
I was
two.
There were two. I saw millionaire twice, and I was like, that was a little weird. That was a little weird. And I just think that's I'm nitpicking the production design.
A small slip there.
It's a small slip, I would say. But it seems like Tanya was massively wealthy, probably closer to a billionaire. And
you got to say hundreds of millions of dollars.
Hundreds of millions of dollars, yes. And Greg is reaping the benefits here by, at the very least, being able to charter this super yacht for some undeterminate amount of time.
Yeah, and on top of that we see his house at the end of the episode.
It's nice.
And it is filthy. Yeah. It's awesome. I meant filthy in the good way.
In the good way, yes.
Real
yes.
sick.
Yeah.
So he cleaned up.
He did. That's what it seems like.
Off this Tanya situation, yes. It seems. So where are we at here? Victoria hides her little pill purse behind a little pillow on a chair. That was a dumbass move. I don't know what she was thinking there. Let's check in with some of the other guests, and then we'll bounce back to the boat party for this to make sense. So at breakfast, Chelsea tells Rick that these things happen in threes. 1, the robbery. 2, the snake show. This could be some final destination shit, like death is coming for me, she says. Rick says lightning doesn't strike in the same place twice, which I thought was a funny rebuttal because it already has struck twice between the first two things she outlined. They argue about attending the boat party together, and then Chelsea ends up guilting him into going with her. I thought this was a good episode to get a better feel for Rick and Chelsea because through the first 3, you're like, does he even give a shit about her?
Right.
Or is this just a sex thing for him? And you know what I mean? Or does he have real feelings? And I think over the course of this one, and his choosing to open up to her in a little bit here, I think he really does care about her. I think he has a real connection with her. I think he loves what she does for him, balances him out, right?
Yeah.
All his negativity and pessimism and shittiness, and she's the brightness in his life. So I thought him, conceding to go on this boat with her was sign number 1, that he actually does care if she's happy or not. After breakfast, when Chelsea is checking in on the gift shop employee who was working during the robbery, she wants to make sure she's okay, right? Rick runs into his therapist. She says she would love another session with him, that she feels there's more to talk about. He says he's going to Bangkok. Then, in sort of a stunning moment, the therapist tells him, "You have touched my heart, and I hope you will hear me when I say You are not stuck. You understand? You can let go of your story. You can escape the karmic cycle. Find peace in this life. I have hope for you. It was lovely to meet you. So, first of all, this sort of operated as like a goodbye. I assume you're not going to come back, which I thought was interesting. But then Rick seems genuinely moved by what she said. And for a moment, I was like, oh, maybe he'll reconsider this Bangkok thing. Like maybe he won't go because between this lady and Chelsea, he'll feel like he can just move on. But that obviously doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So finally, Rick and Chelsea head out to Greg's boat. It's like an oligarch's boat. He must be loaded. And Chloe introduces Rick and Chelsea to everyone. Obviously, Rick and Tim Ratliff do not like each other. So Tim heads downstairs to, quote unquote, use the bathroom, where he goes straight for Victoria's pill purse, pops another lorazepam, then just says fuck it and steals the entire bottle, which is a psycho move. And I actually looked away from my TV screen for a moment here and did not see him pull the bottle out.
Okay.
So I was super confused a little bit later on when my wife was like, yeah, Tim took it. What do you mean?
Oh, you thought when she's...
I was like, oh, somebody took the bottle.
More pill theft?
Yeah, I was confused. Okay. So a bunch of other guests start showing up on the boat. This was very reminiscent of the scenes from season 2 of The White Lotus, where the gays were having these parties and like there was all these random people we didn't know.
It also reminded me of Succession. The boat scenes on Succession.
But these people are not classy enough for Victoria, so she can immediately tell, like, oh, these are not...
How do we know they're decent people?
These aren't decent
These aren't decent people.
They're not our kind of people.
I just want to know that they're decent.
So Piper tells Lachlan that at dinner, she's going to tell her mom and dad something that they're going to flip their shit about. And she needs him, Lachlan, her little brother, to be there for moral support. Because she knows she can count on him. Definitely can't count on Saxon. She tells Lachlan she's going to tell her parents that after she graduates, she's moving here to Thailand, and she's going to join that meditation center for at least a year. So the whole thing about being here to interview some monk for her thesis was actually just an excuse, it seems, so she could scope it out.
Yeah, a bunch of BS.
And see if she liked the vibes.
Bunch of real BS, Ross.
Yeah, so Lachlan's hurt by this.
That's not decent.
No, it's not decent.
That's not decent to do.
It's not decent to lie to your family.
To your parents.
Jeez. So Lachlan's like, well, what about me? And she's like, what about you? You'll be in college. But you can tell Lachlan is bummed out. So he basically is like, well, fuck you then, and turns and goes to hang out with Saxon.
Yeah.
So she's inadvertently pushing him towards his disturbed older brother, who is currently winning the battle for his soul. So Saxon tells Lachlan, like, don't hang out with that fucking loser. Your sad, pathetic sister over there. That the girls on this boat are thirsty for some young fucking cum, which I was just like, dude, can't believe you're going to make me say this on my podcast. God damn it. He tells Lachlan to follow him, and then he does his version of Swadika, which is swastika. And I was like, come on. And if you have subtitles on it, literally just says swastika. Saxon,
I missed that.
That was good. It was a good little turn of phrase there. Saxon takes a photo for these 3 girls, and they do like a selfie together, which I was like, why?
I didn't know why they did the selfie.
It's on her phone.
Yeah.
Does she want the selfie?
I don't know. Maybe.
I guess. I guess it's a way to like kick off a social situation with people your age, where you're like, yeah, we might get drunk and make out, you know? Victoria, really not enjoying herself on this yacht, tells Tim that he's acting weird. She leaves. Tim gets stuck talking to an Aussie dude and his girlfriend, and he tells him, we get some good info about Tim here. He says, I do finance. I got a lot of big clients. I'm a pillar of the community. Oh, yeah. My grandfather was the governor of North Carolina, and my father was, well, a very, very, very successful businessman. Thank God he's dead. Oh, both my parents, thank God they are dead. And then he does like a thank you cheers to God, which I thought was fucking great. But he's zonked out of his mind here. The Aussie guy's like, well, good talking with you, mate. See you at the bar. And like immediately leaves. But yeah, so we were kind of curious like what the Ratliff family setup was, because they seem like sort of maybe old money, right? But you can't really tell.
Yeah.
This would give you the impression that we're looking at a few generations of wealth building here.
Yes, and I think that was... I think that was the early takeaway. I feel like by placing them in like Carolina, by placing them as like a Carolina family instead of like a California family,
and then having Victoria act the way she does,
spoke to like the more old money than new, but
old Southern money.
But you're right. This is confirmation there. I think one of the things that this season is doing best is portraying the relationships between the LBHs as they were and their gray area partners, girlfriends and partners, because you always, almost no matter what, you can be in Galveston or you can be in Thailand, you're gonna see these couples. You're gonna see these guys who are like, unfashionable, but like maybe have a little money, and they're with some woman who's like way too, glamorous looking.
These guys are never good looking.
Gussied up a little bit, and you're just and a lot of times they're 30 years younger, and you're just always like, what is the deal here?
Like, is that an escort?
Yeah.
Or are they really dating? With this one couple on the boat that Victoria questions, she's like, you need to put a
You
ring
need to
on
put a
that.
ring on it. That would be decent.
She's like, are y'all married? And the girl says, no, but we should be.
Uh-huh.
And so I was like, okay, that seems like an actual couple, like two people that are.
Well, unless he's just, I feel like his reaction to that is like, yes, I entertain her and string it along all, every day of my life because I need to keep this going.
Yeah, he says like it's on the table.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But no, you're not wrong.
But I like the way they're portraying these strange relationships that I feel like are just, stalwarts on any vacation you might go on.
Yeah, for some reason, a lot more common on vacations than they are in like.
Yeah, because you see them in like that's what they do. That's part of the gig for both of them. I think is they go on vacation.
The younger girls get to go on the trips.
Right.
The old dude gets to hang with the hot young girl.
Yeah.
And stuff.
Whatever the arrangement might be.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So Victoria goes to find her pills, and of course the entire bottle is gone. Lachlan starts doing magic tricks for girls, which I was actually kind of impressed by. I was like, that's not a bad in.
Good icebreaker. Yeah.
You need something to break the ice. And he's got a couple of different tricks he can pull here, rabbit out the hat type shit. So as we see Lachlan like crushing his first trick, though, they like pan up to Greg. He's on the top deck just looking like ominously down at Saxon, who has his arm around Chloe. And Lachlan, who's doing these magic tricks. And can't feel good about that. So Chelsea pulls Rick to the side and asks him, like, are you ever going to let me in? She says she's at the end of her rope, that it doesn't feel good being around this dark cloud all the time, and that if he doesn't let her in, then she can't help. Then it feels really shitty. But this is almost like an ultimatum. Like she's like, look, she directly says, this is not going to work if you can't open up. She asks him why they're there, takes a couple of tries, but he finally breaks. And he says, we're here because the fucking dude who murdered my father owns this hotel. That's why we're here. And he says that he read, I'm assuming in the news, that the guy had a stroke and he was in the hospital here. So that's why they came. But he's not here. He's in Bangkok. So that's why Rick is going to Bangkok, right? He says he never knew his father, but he was a do-gooder who came to Thailand to help people. He was trying to help these locals keep a shady American from stealing their land. And he doesn't know all the details, but his dad was here in Thailand trying to do the right thing. And then one day he disappeared and they never found him. And his mother told him the name of the guy who did it. And that's the guy who owns this hotel and half of fucking Thailand, apparently. And Chelsea's like, oh my God, is this a bit, you killed my father, prepare to die, kind of? And Rick's like, I don't know. The questions here. We've speculated about what Rick's deal is and how this is all going to unfold.
Yep.
I think part of the possible twist could be that, like, the question is, did Rick's mother tell him the truth?
Right.
Or is John Hollinger actually his dad? Which is another real possibility.
Yeah.
We don't know which way this is going to go, but there's seemingly a few options.
I think, I don't think, this is good because I kind of left this conversation with the guess that what Rick thinks it isn't it.
Right?
Yeah.
Because like mother on the deathbed thing.
Right.
Can you give us the circumstances? Was she fully well mentally when she's conveying this information to you? Or was she... You just, I don't know how trustworthy deathbed confessions can be in different circumstances.
Well, I just feel like that's what, it just feels like that's what's going to make sense for the story, right? Is that Rick is so caught up in this, he tortures himself with this, he thinks, he claims that his life was ruined by this guy.
From day one.
And then you get there and you confront it and it's actually, you were you were wrong, and so your life wasn't ruined.
And it's a completely different thing.
Right. You just ruined it by thinking it was ruined. Like all those types of things that you can kind of tease out a little bit. That's what it feels like will happen. But I don't know what the real story will be.
Well, because otherwise it's a little weird if it's like, this guy killed my dad and I'm going to go kill him.
Yeah.
And like what we watch that unfold. Like
I don't know. It doesn't feel
very
very White Lotus-y, right?
Needs to be a twist.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So anyway, he does connect with Chelsea here, which I think gives Chelsea the fuel to kind of keep going, obviously. So Piper sits down next to her dad, who's just sort of lounged out, all drugged up and drunk on this fucking like yacht cushion. And she thanks him for making an effort in giving up his phone. Says it really means a lot. Tim almost starts crying in response, tells Piper he loves her so much, starts drunkenly like grabbing at her face, which was funny. But the point here is Tim is like, when you're realizing you're going to lose everything, it makes you love everything you have even harder for just a little while. You want to act the way you should have been acting this whole time, but instead you were doing white collar crime. Victoria approaches and tells them her pills are gone. She doesn't like anyone on the boat. Tim tries to tell her, like, well, you're always losing stuff. Maybe you lost them, rather than give them up. Chloe finds Greg on the top of the boat alone. Doesn't like the party. Doesn't like to socialize. Greg's just a real fucking piece of shit, man.
Curmudgeon.
He is. And she tells him everyone has been talking and they want to go to a full moon party tonight. Greg says he can't go. There's something he has to deal with at home. It's important. It's Belinda. Chloe asks if they can drop him off and take the boat to the party. He's making the face like, these women don't give a shit about me. They're just, this is all usury, right? But then she's like, I love you. And he concedes. But, just fun watching the wheels turn in Greg's head a little bit.
Yeah, he knows
here.
the score.
He knows. He does. Greg goes and sits next to Tim at the bar. Tim asks Greg if he likes living here. Greg says he never wants to leave. Tim's like, I just heard someone say that anyone who moves to Thailand is either looking for something or hiding from something. Greg says neither. Got sick of the rat race. So what about you? Are you hiding or are you seeking? Tim says, I'm just on vacation with my family. Pause. You never know. But you never know. It's like almost getting the wheels turning for Tim, like maybe I never leave, right?
Right.
Which I swear to God, I Googled it, and Thailand has an extradition treaty with the United States, so I don't know how this would help you.
Right.
Also of note, we talked about the legal circumstances of marijuana in Thailand.
Yeah.
Got some DMs from some people who have been, and apparently it became like fully recreationally legal in like 2022.
Okay.
So it's new, and what happens for anyone who lives in a area where recreational marijuana is a thing, the stores pop up everywhere. So like we see one at one point when the girls are running from the water gun fight and they go into that convenience store. There's a weed shop across the street.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm curious to see what happens with Tim and Greg, if this is just like a little meeting of two white collar criminals right here, or if Tim is going to need like Greg's help later in the season potentially. I don't know if they'll go that direction with it, but they're both aging wealthy criminals.
Okay.
So they've got some stuff in common, right? When they get back to the dock, Saxon tells his parents that him and Lachlan are going to the full moon party on some island on the boat. Piper is bummed that Saxon has seemingly won the battle for Lachlan's soul, but probably more so that she won't have Lachlan to back her up at the dinner, which she needed, right? So she ends up not telling her parents what she was going to tell them at that dinner. Chelsea begs Rick not to go to Bangkok, asks him how he can even be sure this is the right guy. It happened so long ago. Rick says his mother told him who his father was on her deathbed. You don't forget shit like that. Says this guy ruined his life from day one. Just when Chelsea realizes, like, oh my God, you're going to do something fucking stupid. And she says, I know you're not just going to go talk to the guy. Come on. I know you, Rick. This is what you do, which was curious to me. Did she mean this is what you do? You downplay scenarios that are actually going to be more intense than they were? Or did she mean you're a hitman? You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either. I think the former.
I think so too.
Right? Because it seems like they're trying to push us in that direction.
Right.
And that, again, like you said earlier,
Yeah.
that's not going to be the way it goes.
I don't think so. Did you ever watch the movie Hitman with Glenn Powell?
Yeah.
He says at the beginning of that movie that hitmen don't really exist.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know. I think about that all the time now.
Why?
Just because it is one of those things that you just like, you have it like, you know,
It seems like a job someone has to have.
it's in your brain from an early age. You're just like, oh yeah, there's hitmen out there. There's there's assassins. They're out there, man. They're out there whacking folks.
I don't think
Contract killers.
I don't think it's so much a thing in the United States because of our legal system and the FBI and CIA and local police, and like we have a lot of law enforcement. But I feel like hitmen are more common overseas.
Maybe so.
You know?
Yeah, that's where they keep the dream alive.
The Hitman Dream. Yeah. Solid Glenn Powell flick, though.
Yeah.
Not great, but not bad.
No.
It was fine.
Yeah.
It was fine. Netflix, right?
It was Netflix.
Yeah, it's a little Netflix streamer. There you go. Chelsea wants to go with Rick. He says no. She says she's got a really bad feeling about this, but he goes anyway. So Chelsea gets back on board the boat for the full moon party, and Rick goes to the airport and boards his flight to Bangkok after becoming disgruntled with some stoners that accidentally like bump into him for a second. I was like, did we need that scene? I don't know why he had to be such a mean guy to those guys. All right, how do we feel about the boat party? It was set up.
Yeah. I felt bored on the boat. I felt a little bored.
You're ready to get to the levels of excitement that I think episode 5 will take us to.
Yes. And you know, at the dinner later when when he gets the call and like it's all melting down, like you're fucked, like you're going to jail, like they might take your house. Yet like we know.
We've known.
You're screwed.
Every episode, yeah.
Yes. So
yeah, but it's about it becoming like more and more concrete, I think. You know?
I know, I get it. It's just halfway through 4 episodes. I feel like this episode just felt like treading water to me.
Yeah, I mean the boat
with everything. Like he hasn't like Tim hasn't been caught for the lorazepam yet. He hasn't told his family about the legal troubles. Like, you know, it's all this. I don't know. It just felt. I felt a little bored.
Yeah, the boat thing basically served to get us ready for episode 5 because now Chelsea's on the boat, Rick's off the boat. Right. Now Saxon and Lachlan are on the boat, the other Ratliffs are off the boat, right? Greg's off the boat too, Chloe's still on the boat. Yeah. So it basically got us all in one place and split these parties up so we can have a little bit different formula for episode 5.
Right.
And that was sort of that. You know, missing out on a show everyone is talking about isn't an option for the Clam Fam. As a result, I am constantly signing up for this streaming service or that one just to watch some random show, and then a few months later I realize I've still been paying for the streamer, and it's long after I finish the show. That's why getting Rocket Money was such a game changer for me. They will find your unwanted subscriptions and even help you cancel them, so you never have to worry about them slipping through the cracks, and wouldn't you know it, today's episode is brought to you by Rocket Money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. See all your subscriptions in one place and know exactly where your money is going because you don't want to end up like Tim Ratliff. For subscriptions you don't want anymore, Rocket Money can help you cancel them. Rocket Money will even try to negotiate lower bills for you. They automatically scan your bills to find opportunities to save. Then you can ask Rocket Money to negotiate them for you. They'll deal with customer service so you don't have to. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/dragon today. That's rocketmoney.com/dragon. rocketmoney.com/dragon. So at dinner that night, Victoria says that boat ride was a convention for con men and tax cheats.
Nobody decent.
Piper says, I'm sure y'all cheat on your taxes, Mom. She says, well, not so badly that we have to leave the country. She says she wouldn't be surprised if a few of the people on that boat were actual killers, which was ironic because Greg was on the boat and he technically is an actual killer. She says, you think men like that only exist in bad movies. Turns out they're real. They're very real. Piper, you don't know how lucky you have it to have a father who's an actual Boy Scout, who isn't out chasing girls half his age in a foreign country hiding from who knows what. And Tim's like, I gotta go ask something. He's not even trying anymore. He can't even come up with good excuses. He's just like, I have to go ask something, and then fucking bails, right? Yeah. So goes to Pam, gets his phone back, says he needs it for a few minutes, turns it on, nonstop buzzing, messages, missed calls. So jumping over to Guy Talk really quickly, he runs into Mook on their way to work that morning. She's dancing at the show tonight. Guy Talk invites her on a date tomorrow night. He tells her he has a meeting with Fabian about the robbery. She's like, oh, maybe they want to give you a promotion, or Sratala's going to give you that bodyguard job. At the meeting, Fabian tells him there's been more crime on the island lately, and it's Guy Talk's job to protect the hotel, not just wave at people as they come through the gate. So Fabian tells Guy Talk that his superior, Lek, has some ideas and leaves it to them two. Lek then tells Guy Talk that he has decided they need a gun, and he pulls out the strap.
That's the idea.
He gets the stick out. Yeah, this is the plan he's come up with. Now we
need a gun.
Carry. So he tells Guy Talk he can't let people lose faith in their team, and after work today wants Guy Talk to go to the shooting range to get familiar with this pistol. Locks the gun away in a box in a drawer and gives Guy Talk the key.
Yeah.
And you know what's going to happen. So later that day, Guy Talk gets the gun out and he's handling it when Mook shows up all dressed up for her performance at dinner. She asks if he got the promotion. He says not yet. She's like, I know you'll get it soon. And because he's too distracted by her in that dress, he just fucking forgets all about the gun like a moron and decides he'll walk her over to the main resort building. And Tim talks to his lawyer, who tells him that Kenny Gwynn is cooperating with the feds and struck some kind of deal. They don't know all the details yet. Long story short is that Kenny told the feds everything. This completely screws Tim and any chance he has of fighting this thing. Lawyer says it's basically you can plead guilty to embezzlement and fraud, which Tim says would be the end of his career. But if he does that, if he cooperates with the feds, maybe they'll just focus on the money and Tim will only have to spend to serve a few months. Tim says he would rather fucking die than go to prison. He's like, what am I supposed to tell my family, huh? We're fucking poor now, and I'm going to fucking prison? This is your advice? Why don't you get some better advice, you fucking dumbass? Hangs up on the lawyer. Not a good move. Not a good move. Do not want to handle this way. He's about to puke. He bends over at the waist. He's about to throw up from all the anxiety and likely also the handful of lorazepam inside his stomach with the alcohol. Looks over through the window and sees the fucking gun that Guy Talk's dumbass left there. So Guy Talk drops Mook off. Tells her not to forget about their first date tomorrow. Passes directly by Tim on the way back to his booth, where he realizes the gun was gone. He had one fucking job, by the way.
Guy Talk, you're going to get fired, my man.
I don't think this is the business for him.
I don't either.
He's not good at this.
He's too nice. He's too nice.
Far too nice.
Too distractible.
And too stupid. If you get a pistol...
Yeah.
You got to take that serious, man. It's a serious responsibility.
It's like Mugatu said, you cannot be distracted by the celebrities and the beautiful people.
Don't be distracted by the beautiful celebrities, dude. You got too distracted.
Got distracted, yeah.
What's the name of the K-pop girls, man? They got him.
The Blackpink, Lisa. She got him. She got him.
Yeah. So Tim gives his phone back to Pam, says he won't need it again.
On the plus side, I think I'm removing Guy Talk from Friend Zone after this episode.
I told you. I told you he had the momentum going. I believed.
I think he's got a little momentum here.
He may have just lost it all, but he did have it for a moment.
Yeah.
When Tim gives his phone back to Pam and he says he won't need it again, I believed him.
Yeah.
I don't think he's coming back for that phone.
Yeah.
I think full derailment and potentially running into the Thai wilderness is in the future for Tim.
I like Pam.
Pam's a great character.
Pam's a great character, yeah.
Yeah, underutilized.
Doing a lot with a little.
Very much so. So finally, Belinda starts her day talking to her son Zion on the phone. He's done with finals. He's coming here tomorrow. He's going to be here tomorrow. Remember, we met him in the opening scene of The White Lotus Season 3. So she does keep looking over at her closet in the robe. It happens again.
Yes.
I was like, what the fuck is going on over there?
There's a monkey in there, right?
I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know what's going on in there. But it's clearly going to come up, right? So I'm still not sure what to make of it, but it's something to keep a pin in. Later that day, Belinda tells Porn Chai that the man she saw at dinner last night has still been bugging her, that she knows him from somewhere, so she goes back to her room, Googles Tanya McCoyd's name, finds out all about that she died, which I didn't even consider, Belinda did not know that. The 3 headlines I pulled were, Orris drowns in Sicily under mysterious circumstances.
Okay.
Police investigate mysterious deaths on yacht, and Orris's husband wanted for questioning in Italy.
Okay.
So Greg Hunt has not responded to investigators' requests to question him. He bailed to Thailand, right? So Belinda Googles Greg Hunt's name, finds him, knows he lied to her at dinner last night because that's clearly fucking him. It did say he worked at the Bureau of Land Management.
Yeah, BLM.
BLM for 27 years. She's like, motherfucker. So the episode ends with Greg back at his house, looking out over the water from his gnarly pad. And then he sits down and he's scrolling through Belinda's Instagram on desktop, though. Such a boomer move. And he finds like a picture of her and her son, right?
Yeah.
And back on Greg's boat, Saxon announces, "Full moon, baby. Shit's about to get crazy. Woo!" And that's the end of the episode. So now we basically, what they've done, as they do pretty much every season, is put us in a situation where it's like all of these people could be the shooter.
Yes.
Anyone.
Yes. Right.
It could be Greg trying to kill Belinda.
Yeah.
It could be
Belinda trying to kill Greg.
It could be that Belinda, very unlikely, but still possible. It could be that Belinda calls the feds and alerts them to Greg, and the feds show up, but Tim thinks they're there for him,
Doing a raid.
so he starts
Ooh,
shooting.
yeah,
right? It
yeah.
could be Victoria shooting Tim because he's ruined their family and eaten all of her lorazepam.
Yeah.
It could be Rick in a shootout with Sritala's husband. It could, there's
Right. Yes. Lots of
everybody's got
possibilities.
options here.
Right.
What feels most likely to you? None of the above? Monkey shootout.
That's obviously option 1A, I think.
Yeah.
Is the monkeys getting a hold of that. Here's the thing. I felt like, Tim getting that gun was either Chekhov's literal gun or it was the red herring gun, right? And I kind of think red herring gun.
I think it's the red herring gun.
And I don't want to pull too much from scenes from next episode, but I kind of think maybe Guy Talk gets the gun back or something.
Yeah, well, it's just a light spoiler because they give us this, it's like coming up on the White Lotus, and they show Guy Talk showing up to Tim's room.
Being like, I think
I'm
you have
looking
the
for
gun.
something, and I'm pretty sure you have it.
Yeah, so Guy Talk might get the gun back. We don't know, but I felt like that was maybe more of another fake out or another ride on the roller coaster of who has where's the gun, who's going to be the shooter.
Right.
I like your Belinda calls the feds show up, Tim thinks they're there for him, and mayhem ensues. I like that a lot.
That'd be fun, right?
Yeah. Yes. So that's all good possibilities though, and that's one of the things that Mike White does best is kind of like give everybody a motive about halfway through the season, and you can see it shaking out any which way.
Now, I have another question for you before we leave here. Belinda's son is showing up tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Now, I assume that's going to be in episode 5. Now, episode 5 may focus on the boat party and the girls partying with the Russians.
Yeah.
But we'll probably get her son's arrival or something.
Maybe.
Here's my question. Mm-hmm. Do you think it's that it's not possible but likely that we get a little fast one pulled on us here, and the scene we open the season with the shooting is actually not the very end of the season? Because if you follow that formula every year, every season of the show, it gets a little bit repetitive and mundane.
Yeah.
I think he has an opportunity here to potentially, with all the setup we've done through 4 episodes, to have that be like episode 6, and then there still be 2 more episodes of craziness or something, maybe.
Possible.
Just because I didn't think the son would be here this early, that Belinda's kid would be showing up as quickly as he is.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I guess we don't, in the opening scene, we don't really have a sense for how long he's been there, right? Do we?
no.
He doesn't mention any, this is my 3rd session.
Could have been the first day,
Yeah,
could have been the 3rd day, so there's really no way for us to know, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to the party episode next week. I feel like there has to be at least be some chaos. This episode ends with a couple of different variations of our original theme song, which continues to get me more hyped up than almost anything else. I still maintain that it's a miss to not be using that song in the intro. Just because, dude, it's primal, man. It taps into something inside of me.
It's the
and gets me going.
It's that everybody is stuck on,
and
you miss.
Yeah, and it's to not hit that button inside of me before an episode starts is it's just a miss for me.
It's doing it for me.
Yeah.
The season 3 theme is working fully for me at this point. And the way you felt last week after episode 3, you said you could finally feel like that White Lotus ratcheting up the intensity that you get every week. This episode did that for me more than any of the preceding 3, where I was like, "Oh, we're cooking now. It's about to go down."
Yeah, I maybe something just didn't click for me. Even some folks that I talked to already, I said that they really liked this episode. So I might be on an island with it. I don't know what it is. I'm just really feeling, I think more than in other seasons, I feel like there's been, even if the other seasons start with similar idea, here's the premise, now let's string it out a little bit. It felt like they had more movement within those ideas, within those premises, maybe, that I'm just not quite feeling in this season yet. So I hope that I hope they kick the freaking ball off the hill and it rolls really fast for the last ones, because at the very least, I need the Tim Band-Aid to be ripped off. I need his family to find out.
Yeah. The only storyline that I feel is dragging is Guy talking Mook, where I'm like, I don't know. I get how they're going to play a part, but it's similarly to the way you feel about Tim. Like, they told us in episode 1, this guy's in deep shit legally.
Yeah.
They also told us in episode 1, like, this guy's trying to impress this girl.
No,
and that's all he's done.
You're 100%. Like, that is how I feel about every single storyline on this show. Is I feel like I don't feel like we've grown from what they introduced to us in episode 1.
Yeah, they basically gave us the setups, and then they're like very slowly ratcheting it up to where you're like, you can see things are going to unravel.
We had a little bit of growth with like the Rick and Chelsea relationship in this episode.
Yeah.
And yet at the same time, I think Rick has said that he's going to Bangkok in every single episode now.
Yeah, that's gotten a little repetitive too.
Okay, Rick, go to fucking Bangkok.
Yeah,
then.
dude, do it. Do it. Why are we still talking about this? Literally been 3 weeks in a row of talking about that. No, I think those are fair critiques. It's like, it's what the show does. There are just a few things that they have done in season 3 that have made it feel like it's dragging more slowly than typically.
Yeah,
and I think it's those details we just pointed to, where it's like, yes, we know. Yes, we know Tim is screwed. Yes, we know Rick is going to go to Bangkok. Yes, we know Mook and Guy Talk are having, Guy Talk is pursuing Mook. But, do it or don't. Stop playing with us.
It's also, just to end here, it's also possible that it's like, maybe I'm trying to think back to season 2. I think that the narratives were a little bit more like existential in a way, like not reliant on like literal plot as much, right? Like the two couples in Italy, that's like very much like emotional relationship dynamic type of stuff, right?
Yeah, and they did play with that more, which we have some of with Rick and Chelsea, but not as deep,
And with the three guys, there's like this generational thing as they kind of like, and I feel like they got out and started on their little hunt more. Plus, there were the escorts at that hotel that were getting in the mix early and often. Where it's like here, like I all the stories for each of these groups are a little bit more. It's somebody is going to Bangkok, somebody is in financial trouble but hasn't told anybody. They're just a little bit more literal, maybe, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, still very, very excited for next episode. Vibes are great.
Funniest episode of the season for me so
This
far.
This one definitely had a few laughs. I laughed out loud at Dad Dick, and I laughed out loud at Saxon telling Lachlan that these girls were thirsty for some young fucking cum. Just,
I laughed at the water guns as well.
The water guns were good. Yeah.
I also laughed at Victoria being disgusted by everyone around her on the boat.
Yeah. So
in general.
Yeah, they good pieces, lot to work with, but I'm ready for it to start shaking out.
You need the drama.
Yeah.
I think you're going to get it next week, my friend.
Okay.
I think it's coming. Much like Saxon will be. All right, remember, in addition to this sponsor-based public episode, Barrett and I will be back later this week on patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles, taking hotline calls from our listeners and further digesting and discussing the first 4 episodes of The White Lotus Season 3. Go to patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles now. Enjoy a 7-day free trial. See how awesome those hotline call episodes are. And you will also have the option to tune in for our Severance coverage, which we will be doing on Friday this week. Severance, Season 2, Episode 9, penultimate episode, exclusively on Patreon.
Penultimate. We love a penultimate.
We do love a penultimate. # penultimate. Patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles. Please support our sponsors. Today we had Factor. factormeals.com/factor podcast to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. And also rocketmoney.com/dragon. Go check out the links in the description of this episode. Click them both. Use the codes. Support the sponsors. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at WRBolin. I'm Ross Bolin at WRBolin on Twitter and Instagram. Mr. Dudley, where can the people follow you?
I am on the platforms at Barrett Dudley.
Go to bolinmedia.com/shop. We got some new Severance-inspired merch up on the Bolin Media shop as of yesterday. Thank you to my wife, bolinmedia.com/shop. Thanks for being here today. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We look forward to hearing everyone's reactions on Patreon.
Did we do a fetid moppet shirt? Is that what we went with?
It's innie and outie stuff. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. Until next time, what happens in Thailand stays in Thailand.